Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right when Carlson comes, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Barrett. Fighting scores! Off the face-off! Up in Zeminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They score! Score! Monsters score! Now they catch each other. They both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now, with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Bear will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And Radio City Music Hall, New York City.
Hey, welcome to the Calder Farmstead podcast, episode number 41 for Friday, June 4th, 2021. If you were hoping for a podcast featuring a 2021 AHL Awards show, you've come to the right place. My name is Cece Hockley.
And I'm Sean O'Brien.
And as always, we thank you for tuning in with us.
Today is a special episode as it is our 2021 end season AHL Awards show. If you're normally a podcast listener, today might be a day to head over to the YouTube channel, as I think seeing Cece and I in suits and ties is probably worth the price of admission. Tonight, we have 8 awards to give out in the following categories: Best Defenseman, Best Forward, Best Goalie Mask, Best Goalie, Best Coach, Best Hockey Flow, Best Team, and we will cap it off with the Most Underestimated Team, aka the Mea Culpa Award. Now, most of these categories are pretty straightforward. However, 2 probably require some explaining. For Best Hockey Flow, for those unfamiliar with the slang of the hockey world, we're talking about the AHL player we judge as to having the best hockey hair. The Mea Culpa Award is awarded to the team that we were the most wrong about in their favor during our preseason predictions. So way back in late January, we kicked off the podcast with a series of season preview episodes of each of the 28 teams playing this season. We gave outlooks for their season, including best case, worst case scenario, and most likely scenario for each team. We were pretty spot on with a bunch. A bunch we had the right idea, but didn't go far enough with it. A few teams we thought were going to be good, didn't quite pan out. But this award is for the teams that we thought were going to be bad, and we were wrong. Hence, the Mea Culpa Award, because our bad for underestimating them.
Well, hey, without further ado, let's get this show moving. We're going to start off with the Best Defenseman Award.
Yep, and first up, we have 3 finalists for the award here. First is Kailyn Addison of the Iowa Wild. Second is Max Lajoie of the Chicago Wolves. And last, but certainly not least, is Ryan Murphy of the Henderson Silver Knights. But let's break down the finalists a little bit. They worked hard all season, so we should probably do more work than just saying their name and team. Cece, give me a stats capsule for the first finalist, Kailyn Addison.
The rookie Kailyn Addison. He's 21 years old, drafted in the second round, 53rd overall by the Minnesota Wild in 2018. As I mentioned, he's a rookie, so this was his first year in the AHL. 31 games played, 6 goals, 16 assists for 21 total points, 8 power play points, 3.864 point shares. That is the 94th percentile amongst defensemen. And of course, the depth chart value grade of a first pairing defenseman by the analytics model. Sean, what did you see from Kailyn Addison on the ice?
Just a great skater, first and foremost. He has both burst and elite edge work, and he uses that not to just walk the blue line in the power play, but also to defend his blue line in transition. His ability to find guys in space is really something to see. I hope Iowa Wild fans got a good look at him this season, because I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. Next finalist for Best Defenseman is Ryan Murphy. Cece, tell me about Ryan Murphy's numbers.
Ryan Murphy, putting in quite a bit of time in the AHL, 28 years old. Kailyn Addison was 21. Ryan Murphy is 28. Drafted in the first round, 12th overall by the Carolina Hurricanes. 8th year in the AHL, 37 games played, 5 goals, 22 assists for 27 total points this past season rather. 14 power play points. and a 2.997 point shares. That's 67th percentile amongst defensemen in the AHL. That depth chart value grade of second pairing defenseman by the analytics model. The counting stats had Murphy leading the league in scoring by defensemen. However, the analytics model, as you gathered by that percentile, not very high on him. So, Sean, what did you see from Ryan Murphy that garnered his second nomination spot amongst the best defensemen in the AHL for our award show?
I mean, Ryan Murphy was a big factor in driving Henderson's offense, and a bit of a surprise this season from a production standpoint. This season was his second best career mark in points and goals, despite only getting 37 games. Murphy isn't the fastest skater, but his hockey IQ and willingness to jump into the rush as a fourth forward and come off the blue line in zone to generate offense really shows a step forward in his game and a return to that offensive defensive prowess that we saw from him as a draft candidate and a first-round pick. In today's pro hockey game, it's not enough to just have three forwards that lead the rush while the defense kind of sits back and keeps the counterattack in check. Modern defensemen need to be able to help drive play through the neutral zone with possession. Murphy helped drive Henderson's ruthless transition game when he wasn't in the lineup for the Silver Knights. There really wasn't anyone who could just step in and fill that role, as his skill set just set him apart from a lot of Henderson's defensive players this season. That's a hard skill set to capture in a statistics model, and that's part of why we blend the analytics with the eye test, not only for our show in general, but for these awards. Last but not least, let's talk about Max Lajoie. Cece, tell me his stats.
Max Lajoie, 23 years old, drafted 5th round, 133rd overall by the Ottawa Senators. 4th year in the AHL. This year he played 27 games, 6 goals and 15 assists, add up to 21 total points. 4 power play points, a 3.621 point shares. That's good for the 97th percentile among defensemen. And of course, the depth chart value grade of top AHL defenseman by the analytics model. Sean, what did you see from Mr. Lajoie on the ice?
Probably the best of the finalists in his own end. Lajoie has a much more subtle game. And while he got power play time, it was usually second unit time and wasn't always consistent. So he didn't get the goals and assist boost there that a lot of guys who can just jump on power play one and rack up, those beautiful assists and some goals. He wasn't able to quite do that, but that's mostly because Chicago had a very talented blue line this year. But Lajoie was consistent though, and he was great at killing plays in the neutral zone, forcing dump-ins where a lesser defenseman would have let up a zone entry. Lajoie was also a solid penalty killer, responsible in his own end. And you don't see that from guys who are near the top of the league in scoring, and I think that sets him apart from his peers. So those are our finalists for Best Defenseman: Kailyn Addison, Ryan Murphy, Max Lajoie. Cece, would you like to do the honors and tell us who our winner is?
I've got the envelope right here. I would be more than happy to do it. The winner is Kailyn Addison of the Iowa Wild. And congrats to Kailyn Addison for getting the Calder Farmstead Award for the AHL's Best Defenseman. And real quick, I did want to mention, we are going to make our ballots public after the show. So,
absolutely.
Yes. Sean, where do you see Kailyn Addison going from here? Do you see him getting a nod with the Minnesota Wild? I mean, well, you did allude to it earlier, I should say.
Yeah, he's going to Minnesota. Sure. Ian Cole's contract is up, and I don't think he resigns with the Wild. I don't know if he ousts any of the Wild top 4 for playing time because they're pretty solid. But he's going to be in Minnesota out of camp next season. I have no doubt about that. I don't know if you can squeeze him onto the power play with Dumba, Suter, and Spurgeon all there, but they need to find a way because that is truly where his talent lies, is walking the blue line in the power play and distributing the puck and just being a general force. Like, he's someone who will be a future top pairing defenseman in the NHL, I think.
Just needs a little more time, it sounds like. So it may be the opportunity for sure.
From defense, we go to offense, and we continue on with our Best Forward Award. The 3 finalists for the Best Forward are Boris Kachuk of the Syracuse Crunch, Cooper Morody of the Bakersfield Condors, and TJ Tynan of the Colorado Eagles. Let's break these finalists down a little bit more. Cece, give me the stats capsule for our first finalist, Boris Kachuk.
All right. Kachuk 22 years old, drafted second round, 44th overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2016. This is his third year in the AHL. 29 games played, 11 goals, 23 assists for 34 points total. 1 goal plus 4 assists were power play points. So 5 total power play points, 3.791 point shares. That's good for the 96th percentile amongst forwards this season. Depth chart value grade of first line forward by the analytics model. Not a big surprise. Sean, what did you see from Kachuk on the ice?
Kachuk put up his best career in assists and total points this year and really showed that he could dominate at the AHL level, because that's exactly what he did. A 14-game point streak and a skill set that included power play and penalty kill time. He was someone that was heavily relied on in Syracuse night in and night out to score. And if he didn't, the Crunch probably weren't going to win. He took that pressure on and he delivered. His shot is NHL level for sure, and his ability to find openings in high danger areas of the rink was downright impressive this season. And that's something that was kind of a question mark coming into him for this season, and I think he delivered, and that's why he's here in the best forward category. Next finalist we want to talk about is Cooper Morody. Cece, tell me about Cooper Morody's stats.
Cooper Morody, 24 years old, drafted 6th round, 158th overall by the Philadelphia Flyers back in 2015. This is his 4th year in the AHL. 39 games played this season, 21 goals, 15 assists for 36 points total. He had 5 power play points, 3 goals and 2 assists, and a 4.997 point share. That's good for the 96th percentile. Depth chart value grade of a first line forward by the analytics model. Sean, what did you see from Mr. Morody on the ice?
Cooper Morody was an interesting player to observe this season as he battled through injuries last season and never really found his rhythm. It was hard to say at the beginning if he would return to that 18-19 form where he was just dangerous and maybe even take a step forward. I think we could decisively say that he did. Morody did such a good job of finding soft ice in high danger areas and having such a quick release on shots. It's rare to see him bobble a pass, and that's an underrated but critical skill and an aspect of goal scoring that the best players have and the guys who are kind of in the middle of the pack don't. The kid line of Benson, McLeod, and Morody was a success because it combined a lot of skill sets well. But that line doesn't have near the success it does without Morody on it. So that brings us to our third finalist. Cece, tell me about TJ Tynan.
TJ Tynan, a name that I am very familiar with here in the home market of Colorado. 29 years old, drafted 3rd round, number 66 overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets back in 2011. This is his 8th year in the AHL. He played 27 games this season, 8 goals, 27 assists for 35 total points. He had 14 power play points, 12 power play assists, 2 power play goals, 3.311 point shares. That's good for the 94th percentile amongst forwards. His depth chart value grade, of course, first line forward by the analytics model. Sean, what did you see from the Ginger himself, Mr. TJ Tynan, when he hit the ice?
Well, we took some shots at Greg Cronin for saying that Tynan was the best player in the AHL earlier this season, and yet here he is as a finalist in our own award show for best forward. Was Greg Cronin maybe right?
A little bit.
Well, one thing's for sure. Tynan is a master at using deception and looking off goaltenders and defensemen to set up passes across the Royal Road, whether it's on the rush or from him stationed on the right half wall. One thing's for sure. The Eagles' power play never comes anywhere close to their success this season without Tynan's playmaking abilities. He had 12 power play assists, I believe you said.
Yep.
I think the next closest person on the team had 5.
Yeah.
Tynan drove that power play into the success that it was, especially after it struggled earlier in the season. And a lot of that was his ability to freeze goaltenders by staring them down like he was going to shoot and just no look across the slot to someone wide open for a one-timer. That's an impressive skill to have. So those are our finalists for best forward: Boris Kachuk, Cooper Morody, and TJ Tynan. Cece, would you like to do the honors and tell us who our winner is?
Absolutely. Our winner is Cooper Morody of the Bakersfield Condors. Sean, where do you see Cooper Morody going from here?
Cooper Morody, he's an RFA this year with Edmonton, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I could see him getting extended on a short, like 2-way kind of bridge deal. I think Edmonton has to be impressed with what he did this season. I mean, you score a bunch of goals, people are going to look your way. But he's definitely in a place where I think he gets like a 2-year, two-way, or like a second year where the second year is a one-way kind of deal for Edmonton. We saw you do good here. We want to see you do it again before we give you the big boy money. But I think he will probably spend the early parts of next season in Bakersfield and then have a short leash to get pulled up if he looks good. But the future is bright for him, I think. We are going to take a short break here, so you can hear a message from our sponsors so we can pay for these suit rentals. If this is your jumping off point for the podcast, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at the Calder Farmstead and Twitter at Calder Farmstead. If you enjoy the podcast, I'm pretty confident you'll enjoy us on social media as well. We're going to head to break, have some messages from our sponsors. We will be right back with Best Goalie Mask.
Welcome back. 2 awards down. We are a quarter of the way through our 2021 AHL Awards show. And Sean, we've got some visual aids for this next award.
Yeah, so this is one of the awards that is very much not a standard AHL Awards category, but it should be. To quote the immortal philosopher Jack Rackham, because what if it all goes for unremembered? It's the art that leaves a mark, but to leave it, it must transcend. It must speak for itself. It must be true. And that's what our Best Goalie Mask category is. Remembering the art that spoke true to us on the hockey rink.
That's very deep, Shawnee. I enjoyed that quote. That was very, very good. Fancy quote for a fancy show. So let's get into the nominees. For our 3 finalists, Alex Diorio of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, Joseph Woll of the Toronto Marlies, and Felix Sandstrom of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And like I mentioned, again, this is a rather visual portion of the show. So if you're normally on the podcast version, on the auditory version only, maybe head over to YouTube, check it out, because we're going to do our best to describe each mask the best we can. And I think showing the video to the audience, we're going to show the pictures of the masks. I think that will be a little bit better than our descriptions. So pictures worth 1,000 words, as they say. But first and foremost, Sean, introduce our first nominee of the evening.
First up, we have Alex Diorio of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. He has a kind of a retro, like 64-bit mask that is up on the screen here that you can see. It's got his number in like the pixel kind of style letters, but on the side, or pixel style kind of art, but on the sides, it has the penguins from Madagascar who are on one side driving a Zamboni, and on the other are using like a bowling pin gun to shoot away the 64-bit blocks around it. It's very much a throwback style to kind of a nostalgic look, if you will.
Yeah. And the second, let's see here, Felix Sandstrom of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. So let me just pull him up real quick. Sorry for the technical delay here, but there it is. Felix Sandstrom and his the Flying Capricorns, paying a little nod to the mostly January birth month there of Capricorns and the astrological sign. But yes, the just quite a neon look there with the 2 Capricorns coming out over the top of each side. I'm definitely trying my best to describe it, but again, a visual aid is most important.
To give a pretty good description here, it's like a dark red kind of mask that has the Phantoms wings on the side, and then these animated Capricorns coming over the top of it. It looks very much like a Megadeth album cover, to be quite honest, and I'm here for it. I think this is a really sweet looking mask. I remember the first time I saw him wear it, I think it was against Hershey. And immediately I was like, okay, that's a sweet one. That's getting put in the notes for Mask of the Year. But our last nominee here is Joseph Woll of the Toronto Marlies.
And there he is. The Ghost Energizer Blue Passion is what they call this one. And you've got it looks like a screaming golden eagle on the left side of his mask with his talons ripping down looking like in the artwork that the talons are ripping through some paper there towards the chin of the goalie mask. And then you've got on the other side a big Toronto Maple Leafs logo with some shredded, that actually looks like shredded cloth now that I come to see it. So yeah, just tearing cloth and the eagle on the left-hand side of the mask. Sean, any elaboration on that description?
Yeah, it's got a very blue tint to it, but it's a lot of different like shades of blue kind of flying through it, which really catches my eye. I'm a big fan of like different shades of blue kind of together. So I thought when I saw this one, watching him play, it really caught my eye right away. And it took me a while to try and find it online because I wanted to make sure I got a good look at it. But yeah, it's like, for me, I think it's a really good looking mask.
It is. It's also got some lightning in there as well. I forgot to mention that throughout the mask. So,
all right. So those are our finalists for best goalie mask: Alex Diorio, Felix Sandstrom, and Joseph Woll. Cece, would you like to do the honors and tell us who our nominee is, or who our winner is, rather?
The winner of the best goalie mask is Felix Sandstrom of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. You know, we've seen a lot of fun trends in goalie masks and goalie gear setups recently. Sean, is there anything you'd like to see more of? I personally was a big fan of Alex Diorio's and the 16-bit penguin with the Madagascar penguins. I love those kind of little, Easter eggs that kind of pay homage to the mascot of the team or anything like that. What would you like to see more of, Sean?
I mean, the graphics on goalie masks and goalie equipment in general is getting really amazing these days. I mean, they're making goalie masks now that have parts of it that can change color with the temperature. I know Andrei Vasilevsky has parts of that on his mask. I think UC Saros might too, which is insane. Gear setups are getting more and more creative. Iowa's Hunter Jones had a very cool looking gear setup where he had like a silhouette of like a sunset that was on like forestry for the Wild. I thought that was pretty awesome. And I'm hoping that becomes more the norm very quickly. I'd love to see someone do the skyline of the city on their pads. Any of the like metallic colored pads like Fleury has in Vegas. I want more of that. I think that's so fun. Anything but Jake Allen's super dumb white on white mask from like 3 seasons ago. As long as we move away from that, I want more like crazy color schemes and like city skylines. I think that's pretty sweet.
I have to say, covering the Avalanche and the Eagles, well, the Eagles mainly, but the Avalanche by proxy, you see a lot of the mountains motif, both on the mask and on the leg pads, which I thought was really cool that, guys like Adam Warner and Hunter Miska, even down at the AHL level, were embracing that motif. And I want to say that Hunter Miska even had the Denver skyline on his mask. So plays right as well into that. So that is our third category, all wrapped up. Next on the docket.
I mean, naturally following best goalie mask, we shift right away to best goalie award. Our 3 finalists for the best goalie are Lucas Dostal of the San Diego Gulls, Zane McIntyre of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and Logan Thompson of the Henderson Silver Knights. Cece, let's break these finals down a little more. Give me the stats capsule for our first finalist, Lucas Dostal.
Lucas Dostal, the rookie coming over from Europe, 20 years old this year, drafted in the 3rd round, 85th overall by the Anaheim Ducks in 2018. This is his, as I mentioned, the first year in the AHL as a rookie netminder. 24 games played, 15 wins, .916 save percentage, .522 goals saved above average per 60 minutes, and .2699 point shares per 60 minutes. That is in the 95th percentile amongst goaltenders this season. Sean, what did you see from Lucas Dostal in net this year?
Dostal's biggest strength is his puck tracking, his ability to read the play and see moves ahead, so he's not surprised when a cross-ice pass happens. I got to ask goalie expert Kat Silverman about what's one of the biggest traits that keeps AHL goalies from becoming NHL goalies. And her answer was the ability to improvise when chaos happens. Sometimes you need to abandon technical goaltending and do some wild shit to make a save. Dostal has the technical structure, but he showed this season that he has that ability to improvise and make wild saves when chaos is going on in front of him. And I think that's what sets him apart.
Gotcha.
Second finalist we want to talk about, let's talk about the Zane train, Zane McIntyre in Lehigh Valley. Cece, give me some stats.
Yeah, Zane McIntyre, no stranger to the Northeast United States, playing with, Providence, Binghamton, and Utica last season. 28 years old, drafted in the 6th round, 165th overall by the Boston Bruins in 2010. 6th year in the AHL, he played 19 games this season. 11 of them were wins. .917 save percentage, .441 goals saved above average per 60 minutes. 0.2521 point shares per 60 minutes. That was good for the 91st percentile amongst netminders this year. Sean, what did you see from Mr. McIntyre on the ice?
Beginning of the season, I was very much not aboard the Zane train. And while long-term, I still have some questions. This award is not best goaltender in the future or best goaltender in the past. It's best goaltender this season in the AHL. And there's no denying he was one of the best goaltenders in the league this year. Very athletic goaltender that relies on his athleticism to make saves. And when he's on and he can steal a game and end up on highlight reels. And he was on a lot this season. And that is why he gets to be part of the best goaltender category as a finalist. Last but certainly not least, Cece, tell me about Logan Thompson.
Logan Thompson. Boy, 24 years old, undrafted. His first pro experience, he signed an ATO with the Adirondack Thunder of the ECHL. So, yeah, that tells you humble beginnings. Definitely didn't get handed anything on a silver platter by any means. So this was his first full year in the AHL. He did play one game with Binghamton in 2018-19. So, yeah, technically still a rookie. So 23 games played, 16 of those wins, .943 save percentage, 1.420 goals saved above average per 60 minutes, and his .3453 point shares per 60 minutes. That is in the 100th percentile amongst goalies in 2021. Sean, we've talked about Logan Thompson whenever the Henderson Silver Knights come up. Is there anything to add and to kind of wrap it all up in a nice, neat bow for this award show?
For this award, yeah. We still got a ways to go on the show as general, but yeah.
Very true. Yes, yeah.
We said in the beginning of the season that Logan Thompson was kind of an unknown coming in. He had a solid resume, but we weren't sure how well that would translate. The biggest struggle pro hockey players have isn't AHL to NHL. It's by and large juniors in college to the AHL. Thompson made that leap look easy this year in a talented shooting division with a no-quit mentality and a lot of impressive athleticism that gave him the ability to explode from post to post, make big cross crease saves look easier than they actually were. I can barely even say that, and he made them look easy.
Yes, he did. Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
So those are our finalists for best goalie: Lucas Dostal, Zane McIntyre, and Logan Thompson. Cece, would you like to do the honors and tell us who our winner is?
The winner for the Calder Farmstead Award for best goaltender is, big surprise here, Logan Thompson of the Henderson Silver Knights. Sean, where do you see Logan Thompson going from here? It looks like Marc-Andre Fleury may have a little gas left in the tank, and Robin Lehner either could usurp him or be his backup goaltender for next season.
He has another year under contract for Vegas. I very much doubt he cracks the Golden Knights starting lineup over Fleury and Lehner, as they're literally two guys who have recent Vezina finalists on their resume. So barring injury or wild trade, he should be back in Henderson as the starter between the pipes, and I imagine he's probably going to get, a bunch of starts next season just like he did this one. But I think the time for him in the spotlight in Vegas could come. Both Lehner and Fleury are, not in their early 20s anymore. And I think all of us have been surprised by how well Fleury's done this year, given his age. But Father Time is undefeated. And I think Logan Thompson, if nothing else, has at least earned a look in Vegas next season, a little bit as a backup.
There you go.
We are going to take a short break here so you can hear a message from our sponsors, and so we can pay for the travel to New York City. So if this is your jumping off point for the podcast, don't forget to subscribe where you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoy this podcast, I feel pretty confident you'll enjoy us on social media as well, so give us a follow. We will be right back, and we will be talking about Best Coach. Stay tuned.
Halfway through the program now, we are going to shift from the skaters on the ice to the men behind the bench. And our first award for, we're going to be talking about coaches. We're going to be talking about teams. But our fifth award of the night will go to Best Coach. And Sean, would you like to introduce this category, my friend?
Yep. We continue on with our Best Coach Award. Our three finalists are Manny Viveros of the Henderson Silver Knights, Joelle Bouchard of the Laval Rockets, and Kevin Dineen of the San Diego Gulls. Let's break the finalists down a little bit more. Cece, give me a stats capsule for our first finalist, Manny Viveros.
Manny Viveros making his AHL coaching debut this past season after coaching over in the Western Hockey League and Major Juniors with the Spokane Chiefs. Team record was 25-14, .654 points percentage. That's sixth best in the AHL. The power play was 18.7%. That's the 11th best in the league. Penalty kill, we've talked about this at length. Not good, Bob. 77.6%. That's 23rd out of 28 teams this season. But the all situations PDO, my God, did they ride that PDO train and barely made any stops. 103.4 PDO for the year. Sean, what did you notice from Coach Viveros this year?
Manny Viveros got an amazing season from a team we did not have very high expectations of. This was not the most talented team in that division, but he got them to play a high-paced, exciting style that included a lockdown neutral zone, which is not possible without getting players who've never played for you before and are in a new city and a season full of craziness to buy in and go hard. That's not easy to do, even when you have a very talented roster. Just ask the other rookie AHL head coaches in the league this year. But that's what he did. He took a 1920 Chicago Wolves roster that underachieved, and he got them to perform as a damn good team. That's why he is our first finalist for Coach of the Year, for Best Coach. Second finalist we want to talk about is Joelle Bouchard of the Laval Rockets. Cece, give me some stats on Mr. Bouchard.
Joelle. Third year in the AHL as a head coach. Team record was 23-13. That's a .694 points percentage. That's second best in the AHL. Power play was 17.2%. Not very good, 21st out of 28 teams, but the penalty kill, top 10, 82.8%. Actually, 10th on the dot in the league this past year. All situations PDO, 99.7. It was scary to think that they maintained this clip really close to 100 on the PDO, which means they weren't getting super lucky and they weren't getting super bad luck. But the fact that they were doing so well and they maintained a close to 100 PDO for the season, very impressive, very scary for next year, in my opinion, if they keep a lot of the same guys around. Sean, enough of me talking about Joelle Bouchard. What do you think?
I mean, if we're talking about a coach who got more from his team than their talent level dictates, the conversation starts with Joelle Bouchard this season. Mm-hmm. That team did not feature a cast of blue chip prospects that just outclassed teams with a bunch of, high-end veterans. The Laval Rocket were a hard-working, hard-skating team that was just in your face, forcing you to act under pressure for 60-plus minutes a night. He did it with very okay goaltending as well. Caden Primo was fine this season, but that was really it. He was fine. And I'd argue that he was kind of bad given the difficulty of what he had to face night in and night out. And that comes back to a team just buying in and all being on the same page, playing team defense. The Rocket were consistent night in and night out in their intensity. And that comes back to the coach. And that's why Joelle Bouchard is here as a finalist for Best Coach. Our last finalist for Best Coach, Kevin Dineen of the San Diego Gulls. Cece, give me some numbers on Kevin Dineen.
This was Dineen's 8th year as a head coach in the AHL. Team record this season for San Diego was 26 wins, 18 losses, .602 points percentage. That was 11th best in the AHL. Power play was 20.2%. Good for 8th in the league this season. Penalty kill was 85.1%. Good for 2nd in the league. And the all situations PDO, 101.9, closer to 100 than not. But a little bit over that clip, actually, of course. Sean, what did you see from Kevin Dineen behind the bench this season?
Well, Kevin Dineen is not an obvious name here for best coach, I don't think. The Gulls had a lot of talent on their roster. They played in the most talented division in the league this year, and they finished third in that division. So why is Kevin Dineen even here? Well, for starters, a lot of the talent he started the season with quickly packed up and went to Anaheim, and Kevin Dineen managed to keep a ship afloat with a very thin roster that occasionally featured defensemen at forward and bottom six role players in top 6 minutes. And yet, despite all that upheaval, roster churn, and chaos, they won games in the hardest division in the AHL this year. Mm-hmm. That team changed styles and tactics throughout the season to accommodate what was on the roster to get the most out of them. On any given night, they could be physical and grinding or fast-paced and flashy. No matter what, Kevin Dineen kept that ship afloat through the most ridiculous of storms and developed young prospects pretty well along the way. I don't know what more you could have wanted for him, what more you could have asked from him. Kevin Dineen belongs here in this best coach conversation this year. So those are our finalists for best coach: Manny Vivros, Joelle Bouchard, and Kevin Dineen. Cece, would you like to do the honors and tell us who our winner is?
The winner of the Calder Farmstead's Best Coach Award is Joelle Bouchard of the Laval Rockets. Sean, where do you see Joelle Bouchard going from here? Head coach of the Montreal Canadiens?
I actually don't think he goes anywhere this offseason. I think his shot at the Canadiens head job is likely now gone. I don't know how you can Dominic Ducharme after he lucks his way through the Leafs. And while there are a lot of vacancies around the NHL for coaching jobs, and he had such a good year in Laval, I think he stays put for another head coaching cycle or two before being a strong contender for an NHL job. This is, only his third season as the head coach. And while the first 2, he did good things in them, I think a lot of people are going to look at that overall record and be like, yeah, but I think there is a good chance, though, that he might take an assistant job. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay put for this next go around, if you would.
Sure. And, I fibbed earlier. I said that, we were done with the skating portion, or at least the on-ice portion, but this kind of plays into that for our next award, because it's a little bit less of a conventional award for, an awards show, but it is an individual award for the skaters nonetheless. So, Sean, our next award.
Our next award is a very non-standard AHL award. It's the Best Hockey Flow Award. Hockey has a long and storied history, and one that's full of long and flowing hair. Inspired by the Minnesota all-hair team that has been a source of so much fun for us, we decided to have an award for the best hockey flow in the AHL, and here we are. This was not an easy field to narrow down to 3 finalists. I think at one point we had 8 or 9 contenders. So, Cece, talk to me about some finalists here.
Well, as you can see, me not wearing my hat for the first time on the Calder Farmstead program here, I am a expert when it comes to hair and when it comes to flow. Just kidding. That's Sean over there with his glorious lettuce up top there. So, yes, our 3 finalists, all jesting aside, are Jerry Mayhew of the Iowa Wild, Axel Jonsson-Jollibee of the Hershey Bears, and Anthony Lewis of the Texas Stars. And again, this is a rather visual portion of the show. So if you're not normally on the YouTube version, you maybe want to head over there and get a visual, because we're going to be showing some guys' flow, the lovely long locks is what I meant to say, of these gentlemen. So check it out in video format, if you would.
Yep. First up here, we are going to have Jerry Mayhew of the Iowa Wild. So let me bring that up.
Yes, here we go.
There we go. Jerry Mayhew definitely had the flow going this year, and I think that's especially interesting because that's not his normal style of hair. Mm-hmm. He is usually a pretty clean cut looking dude. So that was an interesting departure from him this year, but one that I think we all kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he kind of had a little bit of it last year. I mean, he kind of started growing his hair out a little bit more. So, or at least towards the end of the season, from what I remember, it feels like 100 years ago now, March 2020. But anyway, yes. So that's our first candidate for best flow of the year. And our second candidate, like I mentioned, from the Hershey Bears is Axel Janssen Fjallby. Fjallby, rather. I'm putting an extra extra vowel in there. Sorry, Pat Sajak, I am not going to buy a vowel. So, oh, look at that. Look at that flow.
Yeah, he is. He definitely has the like Fabio of the AHL look for him. That is a truly magnificent flow that goes for him. And I think what makes it the funnier is he's such a fast skater. It flaps in the breeze behind it, makes it look like he's going 10 miles an hour faster.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, once you get that speed going and you get it flopping in the wind and everything, well, maybe not flopping, but flowing. Flopping sounds a little less gracious, a little less majestic. And Janssen Fjallby, I keep wanting to throw that extra vowel in there. He definitely has the majestic vibes going on with that do right there for sure.
And our last nominee for the award here, but certainly not least, is Anthony Lewis of the Texas Stars. Let's bring Mr. Lewis up here.
I got to see this flow in person when the Stars came to Loveland and was super impressed. Definitely wanted to add him to the list. So yeah, that led us right there.
Yeah, and he is, I think, one of the longer ones too, but it still has that thick and luxurious kind of quality to it, if you will. So
got some curl too, some volume. Yeah.
When it gets that length, like unless you're straightening it or you just have good genes that keep your hair that straight, it's gonna curl. Like mine does the same thing.
Yeah, but yours it just kind of curls at the end. Like if I grew my hair out like Mr. Lewis here, when I had more substantial hair when I was younger, it would start to curl like that. So maybe not perm status. I mean, that almost looks, pretty curly, but I digress. Yes, Anthony Lewis.
All right. So let us. All right.
I have the envelope whenever you're ready, sir.
Give me just a second.
Yes, we've got to cue up the well, we have to cue up the drum roll. We don't have our drummer in house, unfortunately.
Yep, our drummer is not in house, unfortunately. Cece, would you open the envelope and tell us who is our winner here?
Yes. The AHL's best flow in 2021 is Axel Janssen Fjallby of the Hershey Bears. All right.
Well, congratulations to Axel Janssen Fjallby. In the spirit of this award, a $100 donation to Locks of Love will be made by us on Axel Janssen Fjallby's behalf.
Yes, we will be able to, we will show that, and we will definitely keep the receipts on that. So after this year in the pandemic, we had a lot of guys that probably couldn't go out to get their haircut and probably led to a larger number of hockey flows this year, including Sean, including yours. It's
including mine. Yeah.
Including yours. Yeah. You look at your Tableau page and you say, who in the hell is that clean shaven, short haired dude? That is not the host of the Calder Farmstead. No, the SOB that's hosting the Calder Farmstead, see what I did there, is a bearded, he's like, I haven't heard that one before. A bearded, long-haired man. I mean, I think Sean should get the award for best podcast host, best flow of a podcast host, a hockey podcast host, AHL hockey podcast host. There we go.
Okay, there we go. That one I can definitely win.
Yeah, because I sure as hell ain't winning it. That's for sure. Oh my God. So yeah. Do you think now that some guys like Jerry Mayhew grew the flow that they'll keep it, or will we see the trend reverse rather and go back to normal as barbershops open up to full capacity and so on?
Sadly, I think it goes back, and I think we see more of the short kind of clean cut look, which is fine. If everyone had an awesome hockey flow, how much harder would this award be? On the flip side of that, the flowing hair is a part of hockey culture and probably, hopefully, will be around forever. There isn't a player alive who's serious about being a hockey player that hasn't had a flow at least at one point in their playing days. So I think that is a trend that we will see never quite die out, but I do expect to see this category not have 9 finalists a week from the award show.
Yes, that is completely fair. We did have to do a fair amount of like Sean mentioned. I think we had up to 8 or 9 finalists. I mean, even kind of less traditional, flows like the Jean-Luc Foudy kind of flip out that he had going on and kind of coming out of the back of his helmet. We did consider him as well.
Roy Sommer was on there at one point, but he cut it. So that's a disqualification.
That's a disqualification. You can't snip the flow. You can't do that. Oh, goodness. Anyway.
Well, we are going to take our last break here so you can hear a message from our sponsors, as renting out Radio City Music Hall is quite expensive, as it turns out. So if this is your jumping off point for the podcast, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you enjoy us as a podcast, I'm confident you'll like us on social media. So give us a follow. We will be back from break to do the award for Best Team and the Mea Culpa Award. Stay tuned. We're drawing to a close here as we only have 2 more awards to give out. And there was no Calder Cup this year. A Best Team Award, felt appropriate given that lack of a finality for a team trophy. We present our Best Team Award. The finalists are the Laval Rockets, the Chicago Wolves, and the Henderson Silver Knights. Let's break down the finalists a little bit more. Cece, give me the stats capsule for our first finalist, the Laval Rocket.
All right, the Laval Rocket, we kind of touched on them a little bit earlier with our award to Joelle Bouchard as Coach of the Year, Calder Farmstead's Coach of the Year. So, yes, Coach Bouchard heading up the team record 23-9-4. Again, .694 points percentage, second best in the AHL. Once again, 17.2% power play percentage, 21st in the league. Penalty kill was 82.8%. That was good for 10th in the league. Once again, all situations PDO, 99.7. Definitely familiar ground that we've covered from earlier, but worth revisiting because Laval was a pretty damn good team and even keel in that PDO all year long. So, Sean, what did you notice from observing and watching the Laval Rocket this past season?
I mean, it's hard to add on what I said about them when we were talking up their Coach of the Year in Joelle Bouchard. They were a team that just came at you and attacked for 60-plus minutes a night. That relentless forecheck and puck pursuit, it really showed the value of having guys who know their assignment, know the system, and just skate their asses off. They didn't get great puck luck or elite goaltending this year. Hell, their special teams were just okay for the most part. And yet, they won game after game in a very convincing fashion. That's one of the best teams one of the best teams of the year, and that's why they're here. Next finalist we want to go to is the Chicago Wolves. Cece, give me the stats on the Chicago Wolves.
Chicago Wolves, first-year head coach Ryan Warsofsky, after having that dual affiliation with the Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators in 2021. Their team record was 21-9-3. .682 points percentage was good for 3rd in the AHL this past year. Power play, 24.8%, good for 4th in the AHL. Penalty kill, 83.2%, good for 9th in the league this season. All situations PDO, a little bit on the high side, 103.7 out there in the Central Division against those foes. Sean, what did you see when the Wolves faced off against their rivals in the Central?
I think peak of their powers with a full roster of healthy players, the Wolves were the scariest team this season.
Sure.
Tomasino, Jeannot, Lajoie, Reese, Bach, Cotton, Novak, Richard. They even got some cameo appearances from Rem Pitlick and Morgan Geekie and Jeremy Davies. They didn't get to stay at that status long of full roster, peak of their powers, as 2 affiliations meant their guys were going to see time elsewhere.
Sure.
But Ryan Warsofsky took this team to a new city, took on new players that he had to weave into the lineup and coach from Nashville, and he made it work. And he made it work in convincing fashion. That team just blasted everyone not named Cleveland all season. I remember early on in the season where we thought they might go undefeated. They cooled off a little bit since then, but they definitely belong in the best team of the year conversation. Our last finalist that we have to cover here, the Henderson Silver Knights. Tell us about Henderson,
Yes.
Cece.
Yes, Henderson, again, Coach of the Year nominee here on the program, Manny Viveros, Team record 25, 13 and 1, .654 points percentage. That was good for 6th best in the AHL. Power play, as we covered earlier, 18.8%, 11th in the AHL this year. Penalty kill, 77.6%, 23rd out of 28 in the AHL this year. Not so good. All situations PDO rather, 103.4. Gosh, as you mentioned, Cleveland as the kryptonite to the Chicago Wolves, the Bakersfield Condors. I mean, obviously during the regular season and the AHL Pacific Division final, proving to be the bane of Henderson's existence. Sean, do you have anything to expound on and add to that? I'm sure you do.
I mean, again, what do I say here when we didn't mention when we talked about Manny Vivros as a best coach finalist? They took the Pacific Division by storm this year, and they did so with an entertaining and fast-paced brand of hockey. And we said in the preseason that Manny Vivros likes mobile defensemen and had them carry a lot of the load from his time in Spokane. He had Ty Smith on that roster, so we weren't totally sure if that was going to be a feature or just I have a super talented defenseman. We weren't sure if he had that guy on Henderson, but it turned out to be a perfect fit for Ryan Murphy. We knew Danny O'Regan was a capable player, but he became a first liner and just terrorized defenses this season under Vivros. Copy and paste for Dylan Sakura, Jack Dugan, H. Quinney. The team knew it could play this fast-paced style too without having to worry about chances going the other way because Logan Thompson was a dream killer this season. Yes, they were a fun team to watch and a hard team to play against all season. And I can't wait to see what they have in store for next year. Especially on the crowd entertainment front. They really, as Vegas has knocked it out of the park, and with fans in the building next year, I think it's going to be a fun team, not only to watch on the ice, but a fun product to see off it as well. So those are our finalists for best team: the Laval Rockets, Chicago Wolves, and Henderson Silver Knights. Cece, would you do us the honors and tell us who our winner is?
Gladly. Our winner for best team from the Calder Farmstead is the Laval Rockets. John, now, where do you see the Laval Rocket going from here? How do you think they will perform in 21-22?
Excellent question. A lot of guys might not be back for next season. Jordan Wheel is an unrestricted free agent. Paling is almost certain to return, but I don't know if he's back in Laval. Blandisi, Lucchini, and Pizzata are all RFAs. I think they come back, but that's not a guarantee. Charlie Lindgren is an unrestricted free agent. He could walk. The Habs also have a lot of guys on their roster who aren't signed beyond this season. So I think there's a chance this Laval team looks very different next season, as maybe some guys don't resign or some guys make the Canadians out of camp. I think you could see a lot of new faces on the Laval Rocket next year. But I think under Bouchard's tutelage, they should still be a competitive team.
Sure. And I think that going back to the normal, hopefully the normal divisional alignment with the Laval Rocket, I believe they were in the North Division, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, so we'll see how that shakes out as well. That could be a factor facing off against more than just 4 squads in a season. So that'll definitely be something to keep your eye on for sure.
Well, last but not least, we have the Mea Culpa Award. Way back in January, we did season previews for every team. We talked about everyone on their roster that we thought was worth knowing, and we gave projections for each team in their best case, worst case, and most likely case for the season. We got some of those projections dead on the money. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Laval, Iowa, Cleveland. Nailed them. We had some that we had the right idea but didn't go far enough, like Syracuse, Bakersfield, Chicago, and Hershey. Others we thought were going to be better and just didn't pan out quite like that, like Colorado, Rockford, and Bridgeport. And then there's the teams that we thought were going to be bad, and they were not. Mm-hmm. To celebrate that level of wrongness, we created this award. The finalists are the Manitoba Moose, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and the Henderson Silver Knights. Let's break those finalists down a little bit more. Cece, what did we say in the preseason about the Manitoba Moose?
Well, Sean, I hope you've got a hankering for bird, because we're definitely going to be eating some crow in this segment. So the Manitoba Moose. Now, Sean, we didn't even mention Nathan Todd in the preview. He led the Moose in scoring. Oops. So that's quite the understatement or the underestimation to just flat out leave him off the preview entirely. Whoops. I mean, taxi squads, of course, threw a wrench in that, but we really have no excuse for overlooking Nathan Todd. And it's the same with Jeff Malott, who led the team in goals. Oh, it's just, nowhere to be found in the season preview. And that's how highly we thought of them. Jonathan Kovacevic went on to lead the Moose defenseman in points after we projected him as more of a defensive-minded defenseman. Again,
Nailed it.
Not. And we said he doesn't move the puck all that well. To our credit, we have some positive things that we got right. To our credit, we did say guys like CJ Cease, Reichel, Hanola, and Gawanke were good and likely to be valuable for the Moose. We also said that they should ride Burden as starter, which they did, and by God, did they ride him. You had to buy him a friggin' saddle how much they rode him in net. So, sheesh.
And we didn't have a points projection for them, if you remember, because we didn't have a schedule at the time of recording our preview because Stockton decided that it was Canada.
Yes.
So we did pick them to cleanly finish 5th in that Canadian division. They finished 2nd. So that's not great on us.
No, you go on a 10, 11, 12 game win streak towards the end of the season there. It's bound to throw a wrench in our best laid predictions for sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our second team. Our next finalist in the Mea Culpa Award is the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. So, Sean, what did we say about Lehigh Valley in the preseason?
Well, even with our update of the Phantoms preview to include the last-minute signings of Garrett Wilson and Chris Mueller, we didn't think much of this team. We thought Cal O'Reilly was basically washed. Ryan Fitzgerald and Max Willman never even made it to the discussion, as we never thought they would be worth mentioning this season. That really did not go well. Didn't think Logan Day was worth mentioning either. We knew Forrester and Zayd Wisdom were going to be good, but we really didn't think that highly of what was behind them. We hated hard on their goaltending too, saying that Zane McIntyre hadn't looked good in 2 seasons and that Felix Sandstrom was athletic, but was very inconsistent and hadn't lived up to the hype of his draft day. So those aged like milk. So yeah, we were right on a few guys who we thought would be a big part of the team. But we brushed off a lot of guys who contributed for them. Not our finest hour.
No.
So let's move on. Cece, what did we say about the Henderson Silver Knights in the preseason?
Oh boy. Yeah. A lot of the Vegas prospects coming from Chicago to Henderson, the new quote unquote team this year out there in the desert. They were our very first season preview, coupling them up with Ontario. That was our very first episode of the Calder Farmstead, was that season preview. Aside from episode 0, I should say. But our first actual lengthy episode. But yeah, the first episode we ever did, minus episode 0. Our biggest grievances were the depth behind guys like Krebs, O'Regan, Dugan, and Secura. We thought taxi squads were going to be more long-term membership than bouncing back and forth than they were. So guys like Cody Glass, Thomas Yurko, Gage Quinney, they weren't expected to make much of an impact, or at least, we didn't think that they were. Defensively, we were lukewarm on guys like Jimmy Schultz and Carl Dahlstrom. Didn't even mention Ryan Murphy as being someone worth discussing. Big old whoopsie on that one, because one of the best. When these individual players are popping up and are nominees for the best of categories, we done messed up. So so guy who led the league in scoring by a defenseman didn't even make our season preview. Great move there. Good job. Way to go, team. Solid analysis. But hey, to our credit, we did say Logan Thompson had a good resume and should get a shot in the AHL and that he could be a good starter. I don't think anybody could have foreseen how great of a goaltender he was this season. But we followed that up by saying he's young and unproven, and the decor in front of him isn't promising, and neither is the bottom 6, so he's probably going to struggle, especially without a steadying veteran goalie on the team. Boy, Sally, Slappy, Swami, Samsonite. I was way off. Oh, God.
Yeah, we projected them for a 0.45 points percentage, the second lowest in all of our projections in the league. They finished with a .654 points percentage, which is a difference of about 28 standings points in a normal 68-game Pacific season, otherwise known as a lot.
A lot.
Yikes.
Deep.
So those are our finalists for the Mea Culpa Award. The Manitoba Moose, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and the Henderson Silver Knights. An actual award to celebrate our wrongness. Cece, will you do the honors and give us our final winner of the evening?
Yes, drum roll, please. The Mea Culpa Award to confess our wrongness to the people is and goes to, of course, the Henderson Silver Knights. And as penance for our lack of faith and our lack of smarts about Henderson, we will be donating $100 to a local education-based charity in the Las Vegas Valley. And last but not least, Sean, where do you see the Henderson Silver Knights going in 21-22 next season?
Well, most of the Golden Knights lineup is locked up for next season. So there are some key guys from the Silver Knights who could walk in free agency. Dylan Sakura, Gage Quinney, Danny O'Regan, Thomas Yurko, Carl Dahlstrom, and Jimmy Schultz are all unrestricted free agents, and they could go anywhere they chose, or who agreed to sign them, rather. But still, they're also, for some of them, like, there isn't a clear path to playing time for Vegas, as they're very, very good. So the chances that they get called up in a non-injury situation don't look too great. They could very well take their talents elsewhere. But I have to imagine the success that they had this season, living in an awesome place like Vegas, and as what is unquestionably one of the best organizations and fan bases in hockey, we'll see some of those guys stay. I'm not going to make any predictions for what happens, because I think I've been wrong about Henderson enough for one season. So let's just leave it at that.
I think the one knock with the Henderson Silver Knights is going to be playing in the Orleans Arena for one more season. But once they get that new stadium built, boy, it's gonna look nice. It's gonna look good, and they're gonna have some state-of-the-art facilities there in that organization. So if they can gut out one more year, maybe on a contract, or maybe they take the year off and come back later, but that's not a guarantee either. So again, I'm in the same boat as you. Why make predictions about the Silver Knights when you were so off base in the preseason? So anyway, in the spirit of full transparency for our awards, like I mentioned earlier in the program, we will be posting the voting ballots between Sean and I from the finalists, as well as the receipts for our donations. Sean will donate $100 to Locks of Love. I will donate $100 to the education-based charity in the Las Vegas Valley there. And we're going to be doing that on various social media channels here in the upcoming days. And we thank you guys for watching and listening. We're going to take Tuesday off as we head into off-season mode, but we will be back in a week-ish. We'll figure that out. May have to take some time to watch some NHL playoff hockey in the meantime and get our fix that way, of course. To set out what the off-season looks like, as well as a schedule, so you'll know what to expect from us over the summer. We will definitely be working on that and broadcast that on our various social media platforms.
Well, that's it for the show. If you guys are enjoying the show, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, please rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening to it from. Or if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, leave a comment what you thought of the episode, click the little bell, press all the buttons. What's the worst that could happen? But doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. You can follow us on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter, at the Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of that and more can be found in our link tree. They're all the way at the bottom once you pass all of the podcast catchers that are there for you to find as well. That's at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. It's also scrolling below here if you're watching on the YouTubes. Cece, where can people find you?
Well, first and foremost, the Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can find this program, a lot of other great hockey podcasts, sports and sports entertainment shows on www.fullpresscoverage.com. Me personally, my name's Cece Hockley. You can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL and at my personal Twitter account at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. Good portion of it's about hockey, but hey, today I tweeted about 13 years ago today, I saw my one and only show for the classic rock band Rush in Nampa, Idaho at the Idaho Center. The one and only time I got to see one of my favorite bands, and boy, was it a blast. Didn't realize it was 13 years ago today. I feel old. So anyway, lots of it is going to be hockey, music, and stuff. But hey, if it keeps me interested, I would hope that it's not going to be bullshit for you. Check out my writing on the Full Press Coverage Network at www.fullpresshockey.com. Sean.
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien 81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien _81. Both of those are personal accounts, and they're mostly hockey-ish on the Twitters with some pop culture mixed in. My Instagram is like 60% my adorable dog, 40% random musings. You can find my stats work on Tableau. So if you heard about this PDO thing or that point shares per 60, you can find all of that and more on my Tableau page at bit.ly/data-dump-and-chase, all lowercase, all one word. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's DYSFUNCTION, so we can make music for you too. Cece, take us home.
That will do it for the Calder Farmstead episode number 41, and officially putting a close on the 2021 AHL season, both the regular season and the Pacific Division playoffs. So, for Sean O'Brien, I'm Cece Hockley. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.